Russia has tested a nuclear-powered missile and could revoke a global atomic test ban, Putin says. There's been a lot of talk from Putin in the last 2 days, and he has said a lot of things he has not said before. It says that, Russia has successfully tested an experimental nuclear-powered cruise missile, President Vladimir Putin said Thursday, while also warning that the country's parliament could revoke its ratification of a treaty banning nuclear tests. It said in a speech of the Forum of the Foreign Policy Experts, Putin announced that Russia has effectively completed the development of the Burevestnik cruise missile and the Sarmat heavy intercontinental ballistic missile and will work on putting them into production. Sarmat being the Satan II missile, or at least I think that means it's just general the Satan missile, and that is the one that can take out a whole state. It says we've conducted the last successful test of the Burevestnik nuclear-powered global range cruise missile. So the difference is, besides being something that can carry a nuclear missile, it is actually nuclear-powered, so it can just keep going. It could go around the Earth however many times, or at least that's the thought, since it's nuclear-powered. It doesn't run out of fuel. It says that little is known about the Burevestnik, which is codenamed Skyfall by NATO. That is very creepy. So NATO has actually codenamed it Skyfall. Couldn't get much more eerie than that. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about how HIMARS were just spotted in Michigan, in Lansing, Michigan. We actually have exclusive photos not seen anywhere else. So we're going to show you those. That is, of course, by one of our mods. So we'll show you that here in a minute, and then we'll go over all of the current events. So stick around. Tonight is going to be nuts. And following this, if you watch this, make sure to go check out our other channel, Marfoogle News, because we are going to do a special breakdown of a very, very creepy thing. So get your hats ready. It's going to be a wild one. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, remember you can go to marfooglenews.com and you can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today, and a full list of sources. So that bibliography is available at your fingertips at marfooglenews.com. On top of that, you can also find all of our mods channels and any links that they may have. Of course, we have authors that are our mods. We, of course, have great creators. We have folks that run websites. Lots of great links over at marfooglenews.com/friends. Tonight, we're going to be talking about HIMARS in Lansing, Michigan. We're going to talk about that thumbnail right here. That is actually credit Bones, one of our great mods. He actually got this, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Somebody asked what I meant by get the hats on. That will be a little bit later, and that's tinfoil hats, because it's going to get crazy over on news. So make sure to join me after this over on the other channel, because we're going to be talking about something absolutely nuts. I can't spoil it, because then 10 other people will do the same exact thing before we even get off our live. So we'll talk about that later. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugu fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we're getting a late start. There was so many crazy things happening. If you didn't notice, the actual thumbnail changed. We changed it to this breaking exclusive that we got from Bones. But also there's some stuff that we're going to be talking about after this. It is getting absolutely nuts how many signs are popping up everywhere that something is about to go down. Now, if you weren't listening to the former candidate, today they basically came out and said that they have this CNN interview of Mrs. Clinton talking about this whole, people need to be deprogrammed. It's absolutely nuts. I mean, if you can't see where this is headed, then I don't know what to say. Preppers are going to be the best off if you can see the patterns. So we'll talk about that here later. Man, there's so much craziness. All right, Dex, as far as the nuclear missile tests, they're basically saying that they're doing this. By the way, I wanted to add in this article, it says that Western experts have been skeptical about this whole nuclear-powered missile, noting that a nuclear engine could be highly unreliable. I would think. I mean, nuclear would be the most reliable since the submarines and things that run it can run for 40 years straight. But that's if they can get it down and actually have it run right? As far as having that compacted into a missile, that's a whole different story. If you really think about this, if they can do it in a missile, why couldn't they do this in a plane? Think about that. Wouldn't a nuclear powered plane be able to basically fly indefinitely? That's what they're saying that this could do. Would that be not cost effective? Would that be something that, how much does this actually cost to make? Could you have a plane or a jet that's just literally that runs indefinitely, can run for 40 years without fuel? That's something to think about as well. If they can do it in a missile, they can most likely do it in a jet. So pretty crazy to think about. Dex, we are getting a late start tonight, so let's get right into it. Do you want to talk about the near collision and tense encounter as Beijing flexes muscles? And then if you want to comment about the missile as well, go ahead.
Yeah, my comment on the missile was going to be cost because I could just what does that thing cost? And it's a one-time use scenario. So I mean, I guess other missiles are very expensive too, but I could just imagine what a nuclear power missile would cost. And the other thing I'm thinking is we don't know much about it. Does it go up into orbit like ICBMs do? They go up into orbit and then they come back down. So does this go up into orbit? And if it's up in orbit, is it just maybe using propellant to get it up there and then using nuclear power to maintain an orbitable position, which in that case would make it more of a satellite, which then could then re-enter at any time at any location. And that's my thought on it. But again, it's just hype. I'm just guessing because they're not telling it. They don't tell us any of it, so we don't know. Moving on, let's talk about this near collision. So everything that's happened in the South China Sea, we get report after report after report with the Philippines. They've got that atoll they're trying to refuel. Um, they've had lines that they put up, China put up. They've had boats that they put up to block them, and now they almost had a near collision. Again, this is, I guess, multiple times this is now happening, where they are trying to get into what land that the Philippines has claimed, that atoll, and of course China is claiming it is theirs. So they're trying to block them from it. This is, obviously inches away from turning into a hot escalation where it goes from let's shoot laser beams at each other, which they've done, to let's spray water cannons at each other, which they've done, to let's take it to ramming boats, or maybe even worse, start firing kinetic things at one another. So we'll see, but that's what's going on.
Now, somebody said it spews out radiation fuel out as it goes. Imagine planes flying around spewing out radiation. I don't know if it does. That's the thing. We have submarines and Navy ships that are run on the same concept, that they're nuclear powered subs, nuclear powered ships, and what the nuclear powered engine does is basically turn the propellers or do this. What's to say that this missile isn't, it might not be hypersonic or anything. Maybe it flies at the speed of a regular jet or something. Maybe it has a propeller. I don't know. But again, maybe it spins a jet that then puts out the air. Dex, go ahead. Or does it put out
Yeah,
radiation?
yeah. Well, we don't know, and we don't know at all. But I guess the other side of that, if it's not using it to if it's not using it to move something mechanically, which is what it does in a sub, then the alternate is it's actually using a nuclear reaction to create propellant, which would be equivalent to a continuous explosion, which we've talked about in space travel. They've talked about using continuous nuclear explosion, but up there, they're not worried about anything that is pollutant.
Oh, okay, so some educated folks in here, or at least more educated than me, let's see here, says that the ships and subs are nuclear powered. It's steam powered, but the nuclear they use water to cool the nuclear reactor. So I guess in the air you couldn't have that, right? I don't know how they do it. Who knows if it's even real? But at the same time, they're saying that it is. But it is pretty crazy to think about. And if it isn't something that they can use all the time, is is that a is that kind of creepy to you that they're making this kind of one-time use thing? Is this for an actual use? Are they building it because they're going to use it? I don't know. Going back to some of the things, by the way, there are more Fugel fam right now reporting that they're seeing absolutely insane air traffic. Are you guys watching the flight radars right now? I know that there's a few good channels out there. If you guys want to suggest a couple in the chat that follow this stuff, but people are seeing stuff fly over their head that's not on the flight radar. That's always a sign, usually, if they're doing some sort of secret exercise or if they are just turning their transponders off. But there is a lot of stuff going on above us. Yeah, I mean, it's really, really intense right now. Not to mention, over the last week, look at all of the huge, huge moves that are being made. Not only physical moves, but the moves of the words that are being said. The conversations that are being had. Think about the ex-presidential candidate, what she just said. I mean, like, this is really getting crazy. I don't know what else to call it. And then we have former U.S. soldier arrested for trying to provide defense info to China. I mean, it's pretty clear that China is doing a ton to get not only information, to hack, to do all sorts of stuff. We still don't know exactly who is behind solar winds. They say it was Russia, or that they believe it was Russia, but Russia's basically, holding hands with China. Solar Winds accessed all 5 of our military branches, including Space Force. It accessed all of the corporations. It accessed parts of our infrastructure that are actually for even HR. Like if you think about a water purification plant or a water processing plant, they access specific departments like HR, to where HR, you could go in and create a badge for somebody and an employee number and give them a key fob to all of the buildings. Like, that's the kind of stuff they accessed. Not only that, they accessed Black Start. Black Start is the actual plan. If our entire grid goes down, how we would actually restart that. Why would you access that? Well, 1, you would access it to know what the plan is. And 2, you would access it to try to stop that plan. So if you were to knock a country's grid down and knew from step 1 to step 257 of what the plan was to get it back started, you could go at every one of those steps and make sure that it doesn't happen, that it doesn't turn back on. There's a lot of creepy things if you go back into the solar winds a couple years ago, and it's like people think that all of this has happened and nothing's going to go down. I'm confused. It says that a former U.S. Army sergeant was arrested on Friday for seeking to provide classified information to China, the Justice Department said. Joseph Daniel Schmidt, 29 years old, who served in an Army intelligence unit from 2015 to 2020, is charged with retaining national defense information and attempting to deliver it to China. The Justice Department said Schmidt, after leaving the military, offered national defense information to the Chinese consulate in Turkey and the Chinese security services. And I just thought it was interesting that this was to the Chinese consulate in Turkey. given the whole kind of week-long thing that's been going on with Turkey. Just yesterday we covered, was it yesterday or the day before that we covered that the U.S. just shot down, or NATO shot down. No, I think it was the U.S. shot down a Turkish armed drone because it kept buzzing our U.S. soldiers. It says that March 2020, Schmidt had access to secret and top secret information while serving in the 109th Military Intelligence Battalion in Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. So this is something local to where I'm at. It says went to Hong Kong, where he continued his efforts to provide Chinese intelligence with classified information. He allegedly retained a device that allows for access to secure military computer networks and offered the device to Chinese authorities to assist them with the efforts to gain access to such networks. It makes you think, like, how, if you were in his position, how did he reach out to some Chinese spy? Like, does he just go into the Chinese consulate and go, hey, yo, you guys, do you want to see some cool stuff? Like, how do you even get set up for that? Or did they approach him? That's a big question I have. Dex, go ahead.
In some of the other reports, it said in 2017, he actually went to China and then expressed interest in the culture and liking it. So that was before. And get this, 6 days after he transitioned out of active duty, or transitioned to inactive duty, 6 days later, he flew to Beijing. And then just within a month later was in Istanbul, obviously Turkey, given the facts that they're talking about. So that's pretty crazy. You know, like he was doing it pretty much while he was active, but then turned it up right when he went inactive.
Yeah, so something was here way before he even left. There was something going on. Now, speaking of military, this is absolutely nuts. We're gonna go over what Bones sent us now. But first, I do want to say thank you to everybody that made it in the chat. If you want to do a quick roll call, what state are you from? You don't have to be specific, but state or province. You can find other Foogle fam members or Mafia that are in the same state. Automatically have something in common, from whatever sports team to where the heck you're gonna go during SHTF. Doesn't matter. It gives you something to talk about. Let's see here. We've got Arizona, Teresa A. We've got Texas reppin'. Badger, what's going on from Pennsylvania? Is that? You said Penna. AZ Watchwolf, what is happening? Bobby Birch, what is happening? Lori, WIS Jen. We've got Omaha in the house. Don Chevo. Ilea from Cali. We've got Jaybird from Northwest Ohio. Oriana Kuziak from Ohio as well. We have Ocala, Florida. Phil Rooftop. Nana of 7. Hey, nice to see you, Nana. King's Daughter 47 from Washington State. What is happening? Let's see here. Cut the bullshit, says Adam won't say my name. Birmingham, Alabama. Tessua, Comet Moon. Hugh Jones. Nerd Bucket. Cat Weaver. Ben Gone from Commie, California. Bobby Sue, what is happening? Scooby-Doo Do-Right. Mama Wolf Callahan. Astro Daddy, what's going on? Heaven's Peace from NZ. What is that? Is that New Zealand? Or, yeah, that's not a code for a state. All right. And then Patrick's 421. Yeah. Big D from Southern Indiana. And Paranormal Biker from West Texas. Lots of Texas and Ohio. For those of you in Ohio, though, got to give you the OH. OH. And then you got to do. Who's got it? Who's got me? OH. Oh, yeah. Nummy Nummy's got me. Comet Moon got me. Terry King got me. That is awesome. If you don't know about the OHIO, then you don't know nothing. So check this out. This is pretty crazy. Let's see here. Before we go into that, yeah, check this out. So this was sent to us by Bones. And if you're not sure what this is, we verified this is a HIMARS system. Dex, do we have the metadata on this? It looks like it's outside of some, it's kind of fitting that it's got like a Chicken Little character down here, outside of a restaurant. And that is a HIMARS system in Lansing, Michigan, rolling down the street with the dude on his ear set, essentially chopping it up. Dex, what is the? Do we have any other metadata on this?
And all I know is Lansing, and it's from Bones, and he sent it just a bit ago, and that was not just a bit ago now, but when he sent it to us, which was earlier, so it would have been today, probably late afternoon, early evening.
Now, just to give you an update, this is a photo. This is the actual HIMARS system on Wikipedia. This is an actual photo of this. So this is, again, just a differently painted HIMARS system. You can see the 6 tubes back there. And again, it says high mobility artillery rocket systems assigned to the 1st Battalion, blah, 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 capable of rapid strategic delivery of troops and all cargo main operating bases. That's more going over that. So let's see here. If we have, so HIMARS, if you guys don't know, HIMARS are what we sent, and they are a defensive air system that can knock things right out of the sky. Now, are they just moving this around in Lansing, Michigan? Obviously, a lot of HIMARS have actually gone to Ukraine. So these ones are actually being moved around in the U.S. Now, what is really trippy is over the last week, I don't know if you guys have caught this, but they say several countries have actually activated air defense systems, including in Europe. So there's actual air defense systems and HIMARS type systems essentially loading up in cities all over Europe. So it's kind of funky that we're seeing this in Lansing, Michigan. Now, it could just be moving, right? They could be moving it that way. I guess the big question is, is it anything nefarious, or are they just moving it from place to place? Are they getting ready to ship it to UKR? It's very odd. Now, Bones, our mod, sent this to us. He's a truck driver, so he goes all over the country. He sees tons of stuff, and he has spotted a ton of great sightings of this stuff. And obviously, if the truckers out there want to chime in, truckers are seeing all sorts of stuff move around the country, and it's more than usual. Truckers that do this every day, that are driving across the highways, obviously they see when it's kind of high alert and when it's not. A couple years ago, we got so many reports of stuff moving around. Actually, it was more than a couple years ago. It was 2018 when T-Man was in this whole, thing with Kim Jong-un, and they were going back and forth calling each other Rocket Man. A lot of folks think that we were at a higher alert back then. Well, now we have this conflict with the whole world. Essentially, the world is being cut down the middle. Dex, what do you think about HIMARS popping up in Lansing, Michigan?
Wow, anytime you see stuff on the road like that, it's interesting. It certainly raises your eyebrows, because it's we do see them from time to time on trains and moving equipment, and you can kind of understand, okay, well, maybe they're moving, and then you want to understand why. But when you see them on the road, unless and some excuses are sometimes they've said, oh, we just went across the street, so we were running down the road for like a moment, but it always piques your interest. But look, there's a gentleman or a soldier standing up out of this vehicle in that position there. So that's also pretty enlightening. And then as far as movement goes, Adam, I got one more for you that came in from a Google fan member, Texas Lawn Guy. He sent it on Play My Video, and I just put it in Screener. You want to pull that one up? It's a military movement.
Yeah. So check this out. Let me load this real quick. We've got, let's see here. All right. And then is it under the, okay, there we go.
In the screener. Yeah. And let me give you what he said in the message. He says, only caught the tail end of the train on video, but hundreds of military vehicles on a really long train through Texas. Train seemed to be almost a mile long. Some of them on the first half were different looking and didn't really look like U.S. vehicles that he'd seen before. That's his message.
So this is Texas.
Guess the gift and you win it.
This is Texas Lawn Guy. Now, so when obviously there's always going to be people that go, oh, they're just moving stuff from place to place. Well, when you see this many reports of it moving, sometimes it's actual movement because something is going on. Are these getting shipped out? Are these going to UKR? Or are they getting put in strategic places around here? We don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. One thing I saw was funny before the show started. Somebody said, what was it? They said, there's never any good news. They don't focus on the good news. If there was good news, they wouldn't focus on it or something like that. They said, they wouldn't focus on the good news, though. That wouldn't work. Well, first of all, this show is not about the good news. Yeah, there's plenty of channels out there, and again, if you want to start the Good News Network or the GNN, I would highly encourage you to go do that. But I would say this: I'll give you a warning. You're not going to have much to report on. And right now, more than ever, I think that with at least half of the population completely asleep to the bad news, I think that it's a better thing to alert people that they need to wake up to the bad news, because essentially everybody has been in this like cycle of just ignoring all of the bad things going on around us. In fact, we're all trying to tell each other, everything is all good and it's all BS. And it's a big thing right now just to say that everything is fake. Since the whole few years ago, in fact, I don't know if it was a government op or something, but when they started coming up with the fake news stuff, the fake this, fake that, and it was actually the former president that really pushed it, and they were talking about how mainstream media is always lying and this and that. But it was pushed so heavily off online and offline and in mainstream media that now no one has any faith in any news, doesn't matter what it is, and I don't blame people. In fact, people should be questioning everything. But at the same time, I would hope that you would also question the fact that people are saying, it's all good, everything's going to be okay, and they're all exaggerating. This isn't an exaggeration. They also then look and go, oh, well, we're not actually going to go to World War III. I think that's a pipe dream. I think it's a pipe dream that we're not going to go to World War III. We are in World War III right now. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner that you can get prepared and possibly adapt and live through it comfortably or not be affected by it at all. We don't know if it's going to affect us here in our country, but it sure looks like there is some sort of event that is going to go down here, whether it be some other country or whether it be something that happens inside our own country. We have our own country divided into two sects. Whether you want to be in that sect or not, you are going to be put into that, depending on what they have the issues divided down. And now they have trained people. So even if you believe one thing on this side, then you are considered this and that. And the same side that's being put into that box, if you believe in this, then you are automatically over here. If you believe in this right or this, then you are automatically over here. And both sides are so vehemently angry at each other that it's not going to end until something happens. And that's the scary part. And then when you have people, I think it is just as dangerous for what that presidential candidate said last night or today, whenever that CNN interview is. I think that was just as dangerous, if you were going to put words as dangerous as anything that T-Man did at a speech in front of a building. Like, if you think about it, basically that just pissed off half of America, saying that people need to be deprogrammed or something, right? Like, it is absolutely getting nuts. So if you're not ready, then I don't know what to say. And I guess we could cover fluff pieces and, happy kittens getting saved out of the trees. But again, there's other channels for that. There's, I think, 2.5 billion channels on YouTube. If you're here, you're covering what I want to cover, because this is what my passion is. My passion isn't, running out and seeing what kittens are being saved off of branches. My passion is getting prepared for what I believe is going to happen. I absolutely believe we are in the midst of a horrible, horrible thing. And I'm not going to tell people it's all great and it's all rainbows and ponies, because it is not. It is absolutely going down the crapper, and we're all watching it in slow-mo, and at the same time trying to tell ourselves, oh, it's not going to happen to us. Everybody thinks that they're going to be the exception. Just like how we think in our head and our subconscious tells ourselves, I think it's a defensive measure for ourselves, that somehow we are going to be the one that escapes death, right? People don't think about death. And if they do, they're either afraid of it or they're at the very end of their life and they're accepting it. But really, there's no in between. Nobody's really trying to accept the fact that the reason why you're afraid of World War III is because you're really just, when it comes down to it, afraid of dying. But if you get rid of that, and if you have some sort of faith, or if you just accept that, hey, we're all going to perish sometime soon, then this stuff becomes less scary and less bad news and more like, okay, let's navigate through the future. That's what I see it as. And I think that the folks that got ready when we told people about CV and said, hey, they're planning something big, they're planning something very specific. We said there's going to be some sort of demic. They're practicing with MASKs. They're putting out exercises, basically preparing for something to be spreading out through the whole world. We even showed you the graphs. We said this is how the future demic is going to affect the entire world financially, how they're going to shut down everything. We said all of it. And then people were prepared. People had food. People had TP. People had all sorts of stuff. And they didn't have to deal with the 4-hour Costco line to fight over toilet paper. That's what we're trying to do right now. And people will thank us in the end. And the same people will go, wow, I can't believe this is all coming to fruition. Join us on the next video after this on Marfoogle News. Absolutely crazy signs. I mean, just nuts. There are so many signs around us, it's not even funny. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Tell me what you think. Do you think that it's all rainbows and ponies out there? Let me know. And of course, pop into the chat or into the comments down below. And we have Mayorkas furiously backpedals after claiming acute and immediate need for the border wall. We're gonna bounce back and forth. Dex, do you want to go over the border wall?
Well, after he was, literally 2 days ago reporting that that they said that it's an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers. That's a quote. Now he's trying to backpedal, which I guess it's interesting to sort of wonder why, because the administration has went ahead and greenlit the building of some of these things, which is also ironic since even though they're building more of the walls down there, they just recently, like 2 months ago in August, I believe it was, sold off a whole bunch of the parts that were like pennies on the dollar that they could have just used for this. So the corruption that goes on, or I've got to get somebody to build stuff that's my friends, and I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but man, it just seems so dumb that you would just sell off parts for $2 million that cost $300 million, and then turn around 2 months later and say, oh yeah, we're going to go build this over here. Well, why didn't you just take the stuff you just sold and bring it over here and build it? So what's happening. They're gonna get a contractor in to come build back, I guess what that term is, better, as he likes to say. But yeah, Mayorkas is backpedaling a little bit. I guess his words were too strong, and the administration and others may not like that, so he's pulling back.
Though we'll see in a couple months, the President JB comes out with a plan, and he's going to say, we'll make it twice as high. We're going to build it better.
I'm expecting chain link fencing with gates.
Rapidly deployable.
You can buy that at
checkpoints.
Home Depot.
Yeah. And then when each section of chain link fence will be $4 million, and to go with their golden toilet seats, right? Their $20,000 toilet seats. Before we move on, if you want to protect yourself, we give you all sorts of different options, not only to prepare for what we believe are the most probable scenarios. I would highly recommend going and looking at EMP Shield. You can protect yourself. You can protect your cars, your trucks, and all of your devices against an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. Please make sure to join us on the next video over on news right after this. If you're watching the replay tomorrow morning, drinking your coffee, go over to news and check out the video we're doing. But again, this can protect you against electromagnetic pulse, and it can protect you against any kind of CME-related event. As far as a Carrington-level event from the sun, this can ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your car, truck, ATV, generators, ham radio, home, RV, or solar system before it does any damage. So again, this is something that once you wire it in, it's a permanent solution. It will keep you rolling. You can get out to bug out, or you can get home to bug in. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll not only get $50 off per device, but you'll also be helping your favorite channel. They also have the micro. If you, again, this is a much smaller. It's about a third of the size. It's about the size of half of my palm. It's very tiny, and it has all of the same protection built in. It's a little bit more because they had to shrink everything down, but it is definitely worth it, especially if you had the original and you couldn't fit it into something, then this would definitely be the way to go. That's, again, 78% smaller, so it's less than a quarter of the size of the original. marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. All right, and then this is nuts. So if you haven't seen this, we have actually attached the video over on our website on marfooglenews.com. But Mrs. Hillary floats formal deprogramming, and that's a quote. That is part of the direct quote, formal deprogramming of T-Man supporters. Suggests GOP base is made of bigots. So this training has already gone into place. I've talked about this. If you don't have teenage kids or younger kids that already know about this stuff, the teenagers right now, and I mean from 12 years old to 18 right now, I have a 17-year-old, and all of their friends essentially when we were all on a camping trip, basically we were all talking about it, and they said that Republicans, they essentially describe that. They go, oh, well, if you're that, then you are a racist. That is what they're being told right now. They don't know anything about politics. They just go off of what people are talking about, what's on TikTok, what's on this, what's being said in rhetoric, not only by the talking heads, but what's on social media. You have to realize that a lot of these kids are on TikTok. If you have not been on TikTok, it is a very addicting platform, but it also has, if you haven't seen the new lives, there are so many lives that I'm like, how is this? Why did people decide to do a live like this? There are people that just do debates, and it's debating and not even debating. There's no debate. It will have one person that doesn't know a talking point. They will literally pick somebody. It's almost like these are being done on purpose. It will be a right-leaning person basically being torn up by a left-leaning person that supports some sort of cause. And it will be like, this is why we need this. And then it will be against Joe Schmo that absolutely knows nothing about the subject and goes, oh, well, I guess that is kind of a good point. But I still believe this. And then, oh, why? And then they don't have an answer because they don't actually know about what they're talking about. I've seen so many of these, and I'm like, how are they all the same? How are these debates on there so one-sided? Unless they're getting rid of the ones that aren't one-sided, or they're planning the ones that are. Not to mention all of the videos and the things, and all of these kids are on TikTok. All of these kids are, this is their main platform. There are so many videos, essentially quite the opposite of anything we would see being put out there. This information is brainwashing. It's really, really scary when you see how angled it is. Dex, I was thinking of examples, and I was telling you about some of them, but it's just crazy how this, this reminded me of like something out of 1984 or something. Like this is, this is the kind of thing that spurs people to talk about the civil conflict, don't you think?
It certainly does. And when have we ever been in a position where we've said we had to deprogram or put any portion of our population in some sort of camp or something like that to do training on them to make them think differently? Like, we've always been a nation of free thinking, and that's what's I think it just sort of, it's crazy. It's and the other thing is, and I'm trying not to get political here at all, but I kind of have to, because the person saying this is also someone who said a whole lot of things about her run and about what happened when she didn't win, and then a whole bunch of things after the fact that have all been proven out to be not true. And that's also kind of interesting. It's like, on one hand, the person saying that, but at the same time, we sort of know, like, the people at the top, the elite, they're just going to do whatever it is and say whatever they want to say. And as long as they're in control, as long as they, have the power, that's what's the scary part. And I think that's what really bothers me, is that thought that there are people that feel like they're more of an elite class, and that the rest of us are just dumb and we should be programmed. And if that happens in the early days of school, if it happens later in college, if it happens through technology that they put in the hands of our kids that they end up spending so much time on, or if it happens formally, like this woman is asking and declaring should be done to a large percentage of our population.
And you can read the quotes yourself on there. You can watch the video. It's very scary that even after all of the stuff that she did get kind of busted for, anybody who kind of says the opposite will go, "Oh no, well she barely did anything." People are gonna like the person that they're gonna like. If you really like somebody, it doesn't matter what they hear about them. They're just gonna go, "Oh well, that doesn't matter. It's not a big deal." If they hate them, they will take the littlest thing and go, "This person's a piece of crap." I don't think that I don't judge this person because all of that. Like, before that, there was all sorts of weird stuff out there. The more you find out about all of the dealings and all the connections, it's very freaky. If you think about the fact that we just covered in the last week, the same week this is happening, the FBI is declaring MA and GA folks as an extreme group, right? That's crazy. That's half the population. The numbers there. I mean, think about it, even if they say the numbers were exactly how they were, that's over 80 million people that actually went and put their thing in a box, and almost all of them were alive compared to the other side. You're talking about 80 million people are in this group. What picture would that paint? That means if there's 80 million of these people, then that means they're going to do something. And I mean, that sounds a whole lot like a civil conflict. Now, it's very freaky also when you think of the comments by like Mr. Gates, who said there will be a hung, and of course, the day where we drop everything in the box. Not trying to get a little infographic under this vid. And that what was the quote? Can we pull up that quote, Dex? That Mr. Gatesy said, and a civil conflict. I mean, like, and he said it in a way that was so creepy. And it was so funny, the day after fact checkers were trying to say, "Oh no," they couldn't say it was false. they literally said maybe on the fact checks at that time. They've probably changed it by now, but he said it. It's like, what the heck? Same guy who's talking about blackouts and it's just creepy stuff. As far as this goes, and then called them a cult. Like, that's just so messed up. How they say that T-Man is unprofessional. I remember friends telling me, "Oh, well, I picked JB because he's just more professional and he's the better idea of what a president should be," right? Like, I think that a president should be somebody that our kids can look up to. Literally, probably in a pool. But again, it's like this is the person who's calling 80 million people that they're cult followers. Dex, go ahead.
I put that link in screener for you
Okay.
for Gilly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, check, dude. Let me read this. This is insane. Let's see here. Yeah, look at this. If you needed reminding, I'm sure many of you are like, "Oh yeah, that was crazy." Look, Gates says political polarization may bring it all to an end and could even lead to a civil conflict. But look at how he says it. I admit that political polarization may bring it all to an end. We're going, look, it doesn't say we might. It says we're going to have a and a civil war. He recently said in a keynote conversation at this year's Forbes 400 Summit at Philanthropy, I have no expertise in that. I'm not going to divert my money to that because I wouldn't know how to spend it. What? I admit that political may bring it all to an end. What does he mean, it? And then his exact quotes were, we're going to have a this and a civil conflict. What? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, how are people not waking up to what's smelling here? It's absolutely nuts. All right, and then Dex, do you want to go over the next one?
Okay, yeah. So this one's this get your get ready, because this could easily be the next Fantastic Freddy. So and this can go no matter which way you turn this. This can turn into it. Britain is saying it has intelligence that Russia is trying to target the civilian cargo ships that are carrying grain in the Black Sea by laying sea mines and planning to blame those on UKR. So all you have to do is go put them out. If you're on UKR side, you could do that. And then you could say, well, look, it was Russia, even though because UK intelligence said they would do that. And on the flip side, Russia could actually just do this. So this scenario, don't be surprised if we don't hear of a cargo ship sinking in the Black Sea soon. That's what I take from this. Now, the whole thing could just be bupkis, and it could just be putting it out just to continue the narrative and keep people focused on UKR and sending money and sending support. But nonetheless, look at the way it's set up. It is set up that this could go and it could happen, and anybody could put them out there, and they can make this happen, and it can easily be blamed on either side now.
I mean, what picture does that paint? That literally paints a Fantastic Freddy. It's just getting nuts. Thank you, Danish girl. Thank you. Thank you. And I believe that puts you at the top supporter spot for this week. Thank you, Danish girl. I appreciate you. And thank you. Says in a video, many people are having the same type of World War III dreams here in the USA. It is crazy how many people I've talked to that say they've had end of the world dreams. I used to be like the weird one out. Now it's not like that. One thing you could say though is that could be from how much people are talking about it. We often have dreams about something that's constantly on our mind. And I mean, media is painting this picture over and over and over again. But this time, I don't think that they're lying about it. I think they're shaping our view of when it happens. I think it's a real event. I think that they're going to shape how we perceive it and how we ground. Something that was said the other day about the conflict with Russia and UKR. And I don't know if it was a colonel that was on Clayton Morris's show, but it was essentially talking about how Russia's winning. They believe that Russia's winning, but it's not only that Russia has to win the war in a way where the people actually accept the way that they win a war. That you also have to have people support the way that you won it. and talking about kind of the things that have happened, the reason why they're not just steamrolling over the whole country and just, the same way that basically it matters what people think about how it was won and how it was done. And they said that that's why Russia is doing the things that they're doing and why they're holding back and they're not doing a lot of things. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear from you. And then Carol, I'm sticking with you, Marfoogle News, Dex J2. Hey, thank you, Carol. Laura Gittins, thank you. And Sheila Story, thank you, from Canada. Says hit the like button. Thank you. And Zenwen AZ, can't chat tonight, but listening. Much love, Foogle fam. This is the one to listen to, and then that next show, make sure to tune into news right after this if you can, even if you're going to sleep. All right, and thank you, Danish Girl, and thank you, Texas Lawn Guy. Says, hey, cool, y'all used my video. I enjoy watching y'all's show. Well, thank you, Texas Lawn Guy, and of course, and if you have a video like Texas Lawn Guys, and if you just tuned in, this is Texas Lawn Guy's video, just spotted. I believe, Dex, that was in Texas, right?
Yes, that's what he said.
Guess the gift.
Said, and that's the tanks at the very beginning. It said that was saw this while mowing a job today. I only caught the end of it, but had hundreds of military vehicles. Seemed like the train must have been a mile long, full of them. I wonder, Texas Lawn Guy, since you're in the chat, which direction from and to it was at east, west, north, south? Do you think it was headed towards out of Texas or into Texas? And then Laura Gittins, thank you. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then Janet Ruth Haynes says, it is written, all of it, in amazing details. Read the book. I believe Janet is quoting the Bible. All right, and then Putin suggests adding India, other countries to UN Security Council. Do you see what I mean? The patterns are there. Anybody that watches these shows regularly, I've told you, and we just talked about this with the caller last night, about how I think that India is going to end up being our enemy, and that India is obviously an ally of Russia, but I also think that India may actually side with China. They say that BRICS, this huge thing that they are not stopping on, they are doing BRICS. BRICS is happening. That BRICS, there's no way BRICS will work. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, without India and China making good. If they don't kiss and make up about their land dispute and their border dispute, then it won't work. And if they do kiss and make up and they figure out their border dispute and say, China says, hey, India, you can have it, but you got to back us up in this war, or India says, you know what, you can have it, but you've got to give us this much money, or you've got to give us this, or who knows. But India was doing military drills side by side with China. I don't think people realize how big of a deal that is. They were in the same Navy drills as, like, the frenemies, best friends, like, oh, well, we're here for Russia. We don't like China, but we'll go to the movie with them. We'll deal with them for the night because we love Russia so much. And now Putin is standing up for India, and it says there could be a shakeup in which countries are allowed in the United Nations Security Council, as Russian President Vladimir Putin has advocated countries like India be given a seat at the proverbial table. During an annual discussion forum Thursday, Putin praised Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and expressed support for reforming the United Nations Security Council to include his country as a member. The UNSC previously accepted India as a temporary member, allowing it to join for 2 years. This membership expired in 2022. It says, quote, I believe we should adapt international law to current needs and changing global situations. Countries with substantial influence in international affairs like India, with its 1.5 billion people and over 7% GDP growth, deserve representation and the opportunity to contribute to the resolving global issues, Putin said at the Valdai Discussion Club's annual conference in the Black Sea resort of Sochi, Russia. So, and again, this is where all this conflict is going on. They're doing the Valdai Discussion in a Black Sea resort. Absolutely nuts. And then before we talking about schools or normalizing intrusive surveillance, make sure to go check this out. If you don't have a generator, I'd highly recommend going and getting a solar generator, because you will not need to store fuel. You will not need to locate fuel in the event of a disaster. This is a really cool setup because you can make it as big or as little as you want it. You can expand it up to 96 batteries, or you can take it with one battery and go power your tools at work, or you can bring it camping and power a whole campsite. This thing is awesome. It works like Legos. It stacks like Legos, and you can actually add mods in. The bricks all do different things. Obviously, there's the battery bricks, which are essentially the power cells, and then there are mod bricks. The mods can actually change the overall performance. They can add supercharging. They can add rapid charging with the UPS, or uninterrupted power supply, and there's probably more mods on the way. Again, there's so many cool things that this thing does, and you can build the system you want. You don't need anything extra, then you don't need to go get it. That is the cool part about this system. Not to mention, it's portable, and you can, of course, get yourself some folding panels and do this anywhere. You can be completely off-grid. It's very easy to use, and it's very intuitive. It's one of the easiest machines. You turn it on, and you plug something into it. That's how easy it is. As far as getting power from the sun, there's one cord that goes from the solar panel into it, and you've got power going. There's no setup whatsoever. It's freaking easy. So, marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. One of the best part about solar, especially these ones, is they are near silent. They are silent 99% of the time. If you have it on full blast, somebody from the next room would not be able to hear it, let alone 3 blocks away like a gas-powered generator. So if you want to be a gray man, which you do in an SHTF situation, this is the way to go. You do not want somebody down the street knowing you have power when everybody is desperate and totally screwed. So go to marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. It's a great, great system. Go check it out. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Not only will you save, but you will also help us at the same time. Dex, do you want to talk about the crazy surveillance? Dex, go ahead.
I was going to say, we got some breaking news. If you want to grab it out of Screener, there's actually 2 links. One that's got a little bit of the information, and another is a second image that's pretty powerful. If you want to see that, what's happening, a lot of folks in chat have been talking about an attack that is underway or has happened this morning in Real. And has been a rocket launch, numerous of them into there. And so that's what the story is. And it's not a lot of details coming out. A lot of people in chat are saying hundreds. The mainstreams are reporting dozens, multiple dozens, but I don't think they've gotten it that high as the hundreds yet. But and I'm not just mainstream. I'm also looking at press out of that country as well, trying to find that count. I don't know that the count matters. If there's rockets coming down on your town, if it's one, it's a lot.
So I did see that as well, and when I searched, you know what mainstream had for when you look up Israel and like the first few things, it had almost nothing. I saw that in chat about 20 minutes ago, and what's funny is what it popped up with. Saudi Arabia willing to raise oil output to help secure Israel deal. An American tourist is arrested for smashing ancient Roman statues. Like that's not what should pop up when you type in Israel. If this is all going on. Now,
I agree. I had the same exact problem. It took me a minute because they kept saying it and I kept looking, and then finally I was able to find another way around it.
You know what's freaky though is because when we see that, and when I see that, because we've covered so much stuff, when I saw that, I go, oh, yeah, that's always happening. But if this is something major, Israel is one of those places that could start World War III. And man, it wouldn't be out of left field because we wouldn't be surprised. But with everything else going on right now, if this is the way that it starts, that would really be really nuts. Then just throw the whole everything out. I mean, like, it's crazy. Go ahead.
That second image is much more powerful than that one. You want to grab it real quick?
Yeah, let me load that up real quick here. Let me
and I'll attach these to the website, folks, if you want to read more about them.
And
one is CNN and the other's JPost.
And this is at night, huh? This is now, or closer now.
Yeah, it's the morning there, so early morning before the sun rises.
Well, I don't know if this is for me. This isn't it more impactful because when they use what is that, the iron, what do they have, the Iron Dome system? Is that the Iron Dome?
Yes.
Firing those things out.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's going up or coming down, but either way, if you see that in the sky, there's a reason, and you don't want that reason.
And look at where I mean, this is like, gosh, and that's why I don't think we understand this. It's just like, when I was younger, I was about 14 or 15, and there was this kid that spoke with me at this kind of speaker event thing that I went to, and this kid grew up kind of next to the strip, and described how they would wake up and they would have bombs going on overhead, and that they knew at a very, very, very young age, like they were a little kid, little like toddler age, that they knew once you heard the noises that you would get down and like remembering how that was when they were a little kid, and that's just daily life in some places. We take everything for granted here. We also take our geographic security for granted here in the U.S. I'm only speaking for us. I'm sure they don't do it as much in Europe because Europe did have half their cities destroyed in World War II, so they actually have family members that were directly involved. They know the areas that were actually wiped out and things. Here, we never got touched. So I think we just think that this is never going to happen to us. It's one of those things like, oh, it would never happen in my neighborhood. My neighborhood's a quiet neighborhood. Or that would never happen to me. I feel like we're all heading into this, and half of us are blind. I don't know how. I really don't. And then Dex, do you want to go over the insanely intrusive surveillance?
Yeah, this is nuts. So, if you don't have kids in school, school age kids, and you haven't been into schools recently, you might not know this, and you might not see it at your school yet because it may be coming, but it's actually a huge industry, and it's called ed tech surveillance, and they're spending up to 3.1 billion a year. That they've grown this industry. And when you think about what they're doing, this isn't, let's just, put metal detectors at the front doors for the high schools or any school for that matter, or, a couple surveillance cameras here and there. They're taking it to the next level. They're turning it into the hallway monitor. They're adding in capabilities like facial recognition and being able to identify students, identify what they're carrying, alert systems if they might be carrying a potential weapon or something like that. But the other thing that this is doing is it's also normalizing this type of surveillance to our children. So if they grow up in an environment in which it's normal to be scanned, it's normal to have everything checked, it's normal for to be allowed permission to gain entry to a room because a system has scanned you and looked at your face, or things like that this ed tech is continuing to expand upon. What we're doing is we're building an entire generation that's going to adopt systems like this in the real world once they leave school. And that's the scary part, is when we turn out an entire generation that's like, yeah, it's no big deal. What do you mean face scanning? You act like, phones had cords on them back in the day. Are you kidding? All phones are cordless, right? That's what's going to happen. And they're going to feel like this is normal. And we're looking at it like, hey, kids, this is crazy. Wake up. You don't want this kind of invasion of your privacy. The very long article goes into a lot of the different details.
They
but
don't
that's the
understand.
nutshell, and I think it's really cool. I mean, it's really good, well put together as far as an article and bringing attention to this. It's not a really cool thing that's happening to our kids. Go ahead, Adam.
They
Sorry.
don't understand that this isn't a bad. They don't think of it as a bad thing. They just think this is normal in a technological kind of advancement era that we're in. They think that this is normal. They don't realize how life was before all of this. This is the long game. If people don't recognize what long game is, they are very patient. I saw something else the other day. Somebody was talking about, somebody was saying, well, we're not going to need, GUN control. We're not going to need it because our kids, grandkids, and our kids' kids are not going to want them. They're not going to want it. We don't want that. Their opinion's going to be changed about it. We're like, oh, get that away from me. I don't want that. They don't understand the original reason for it was to protect ourselves from the people above us that can go south. The people that run the world can go south. That's what happened in World War II. And they don't understand that. That this means that all these kids are going to get out of high school. They're all going to go into college. They're all going to go through that system as well. And they're going to be calling for this. They're going to be asking for this. Why doesn't this building have it? They're not going to feel safe if there's no facial recognition in the local cafe. They're going to go and complain. Why don't you have facial recognition at your door? You don't have metal detectors at your cafe? I don't feel safe shopping here. Dex, go ahead.
I mean, gone are the days of the clubs, right? The hunting club or the bang bang club. I mean, I can't imagine a school nowadays has any of those anymore.
It's disturbing. And how people think this is all normal. I can't wrap my head around it. And nearly 1,000 migrating songbirds perish after crashing into windows at Chicago Exhibition Hall. So this reminded me, did I send you the thing about the blue tuna, the bluefin tuna? I don't think I did.
No, I didn't.
A bluefin tuna was found way, nowhere near where it was supposed to be. Animals are doing all sorts of things. Migratory patterns are all messed up. Something is going on with whatever is happening with their magnetic systems. That's why I think something's going wrong here. And that brings me to another teaser for the video done right after this. So go over to news right after this. It says David Willard has been checking the grounds of Chicago's Lakefront Exhibition Center for dead birds for 40 years. On Thursday morning, he found something horrible. Hundreds of dead, get this, songbirds. So creepy. I mean, just the signs, if you were to put on a tin hat, man. So thick, they looked like a carpet. Nearly 1,000 songbirds perished during the night after crashing into McCormick Place Lakeside Center's windows. You know, and by the way, speaking of the movie Songbird, which was put out during CV that predicted CV 23 or whatever it is, which is the exact same symptoms in that movie as what they're describing in their exercises and what they're saying that it might mutate to. Why did they name that Songbird? So, Dex, is there a reason? Is songbirds kind of like the canary in a coal mine? Do songbirds have some sort of significance? Why did they name that movie Songbird in the first place? I didn't get that. Or was that explained?
I don't know. I didn't catch that one either. I mean, I saw the movie, but I don't really know the significance of that phrase with that movie.
But it says, according to the avian experts, of a deadly confluence of prime migration conditions, rain, and the low slung exhibition hall's lights and window lined walls. It says it was just a carpet of dead birds at the windows there. And it says it said a retired bird division collections manager at the Chicago Field Museum, where his duties included administering, preserving, and cataloging the museum's collection of 500,000 bird specimens, as well as searching for bird strikes as part of a migration research. A normal night would be 0 to 15 perished birds. It was just kind of shocking outlier to what we've experienced. In 40 years of keeping track of what's happening at McCormick, we've never seen anything remotely on that scale. 1,000 birds. That is weird. And then Amazon set to launch its first Project Kuiper satellite internet prototypes. Dex, you're our resident techie. Do you want to go over this?
Well, just think of it this way. It's simple to understand. They're doing the same thing Elon Musk is doing. They're launching their own. So they have prototyped it. They've tested it on the ground, but they needed to put it up into orbit. And today was the day it was supposed to launch. I think this article talks about that it was launching, but it did launch. So it's a little dated. And I think if you go, when you guys go read it on the website, it'll probably give you that update. But here's the kicker. They're planning to put an internet network up in low Earth orbit, very much like Starlink. They're going to put another 3,236 satellites. So take that number and add Elon's 5,000 and then add however many are already up there. Getting pretty crowded up there for sure.
And just about a week ago, we showed you a map of the supposed satellites that are already up there, and it's just crazy. It's like a connect the dot or something with them all mashed together. I mean, it's thousands upon thousands of dots flying around the world or across the plane, whichever you believe, doesn't matter. Either way, they're launching 3,000 plus more. What do you think about that? Let me know in the chat below. And then China to double. Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. I want to catch you. Guess what they flew up on? This is Amazon. You would think they were going up with who?
Blue Origin.
Yeah, but they didn't. Atlas rocket.
Isn't that their competitor?
Probably. I thought they were supposed to be doing this with Blue Origin, but I guess they're just behind, as we know. So it looks like it was launched with Alliance's Atlas V rockets, which those have been around for a while.
Is Atlas, and then there's Virgin, right? I don't hear anything about Virgin.
They launched commercially now, but Virgin's just low Earth, like plane, like you rocket from high altitude up to a higher altitude. I don't know if they've done any rockets like for deploying equipment like Elon does. Obviously, Blue Origin is supposed to be doing it, but Atlas and others do it as well. Or Alliance, I should say.
And now China's to double the size of their space station touts alternative to NASA-led ISS. So before we talked about, before they even launched the first rocket, which was just a couple years ago, and now they have a full-fledged space station apparently. Before those 3 big rockets that we tracked and they didn't know where it was going to land, they said that they were going to build a miles-long structure in space. And you know my views on this. I think something weird is going on. I think they're getting ready to leave us behind, but now they are saying that they're about to double the size of their ISS or their Chinese space station, the Jiangdong, or no, I said that wrong, didn't I? Let's see, what the heck is it called, Dex? Is it Zhaozhang? Zhaozhang? Ding dong dong. Tiangong. China's self-built space station, also known as Tiangong or Celestial Palace. That's what they named it. Celestial Palace in Chinese has been fully operational since late 2022, hosting a maximum of 3 astronauts at an orbital altitude of 280 miles up in the sky. At 180 metric tons after its expansion to 6 modules, Tiangong is just 40% of the mass of the ISS, which can hold a crew of 7 astronauts. But the ISS, in orbit for more than 2 decades, is expected to be decommissioned. So they are saying that after 2030, about the same time, China has said it expects to become a major space power. Like, and it says Chinese state media said last year that as Tiangong became fully operational, that China would be no slouch as the ISS headed towards retirement, adding that several countries had asked to send their astronauts to the Chinese station. But in a blow to Chinese aspirations for space diplomacy, the European Space Agency, ESA, said that this year it did not have the budgetary or political green light to participate in Tiangong, shelving a years-long plan for a visit by European astronauts. Giving up cooperation with China in the manned space domain is clearly short-sighted, which reveals that the U.S.-led camp confrontation has led to a new space race. That was the Global Times, Xi-approved Chinese propaganda, nationalist Chinese tabloid, wrote at the time. So everything that goes out of that newspaper has to be approved by the president and his camp directly. So kind of odd there. Real quick, if you haven't already, check out Nutrient Survival. If you want freeze-dried food, highly recommend getting some of the best. This is 6 times the nutrients than your average freeze-dried food. This is, again, really, really good. This is not survival food. This is thrival food. It tastes amazing. That's what really turned me on to it. The one thing you got to think of is if you do get in a situation where you're eating freeze-dried food, it helps if it's really, really good. That is the thing about this. And especially if you are set up in every other capacity, then something like this is where you can actually be set up and be eating good. Really, really good food. Alaska Prepper turned me onto this. He highly recommended it, and I totally thought he was right. The food is really good. It's handcrafted in small batches in Reno, Tahoe, USA. So it is made in America. So again, go over and check it out. marfugglenews.com/NS and save 15% with the code MARF. So you get a really good discount. And again, you get really, really good food. This is a bit pricier than some of its competitors. But again, it's kind of is super, super quality. That is the good part about this. And the taste, you can't really beat that. All right. And then, did a UFO piloted by aliens visit Varginha, Brazil in 1996? It says UFOs might be enjoying a moment right now, but they've been a part of human culture for a long time. While the modern image of flying saucers is relatively new, people have reported strange objects in the sky, sometimes piloted by non-human creatures, for thousands of years. Although whatever they are, they haven't always been thought of as extraterrestrials from space. It said that Sci-Fi's own resident alien follows a lone ET stranded on Earth when his spacecraft crashes in Colorado. The story mirrors slightly the conditions at Roswell's, New Mexico, where residents reported witnessing a crashed alien spacecraft with pilots still inside. In the decades since, the United States government came clean about the experimental balloon they were testing and the flubbed-up cover-up that ensued. Varginha is Brazil's answer to Roswell, and for now, we still don't have answers about what actually happened there. So there's lots of stories, and we've actually covered parts of this before. It says the comparison to Roswell comes not just because of UFO sighting, but because the craft allegedly crashed, residents interacted with the non-human pilots, and the whole thing ended with a military cover-up. The execution is slightly different, but the basic recipe of both UFO stories is essentially the same. It says multiple witnesses reported seeing a bipedal creature, which is decidedly not human. They described it as unsteady on its feet, appearing to be sick or injured, with 2 large red balls for its eyes. And that's actually the first time I think that's the first time I've ever heard of their eyes being red. That's spooky. It says others reported seeing a strange metal object slowly losing altitude over the area before hitting the ground, and a strong, almost overbearing smell of sulfur. Sulfur. Weird. And it says other witnesses described the creature as having brown, oily skin, no hair, and a distinct look of fear in their eyes. Allegedly, after authorities responded to the area to track down the creatures, police officer Marco L. Cheriz apprehended one barehanded, later fell ill to a mysterious full-body infection and died. So there's records of this guy getting some sort of weird thing, and there's medical records of this and him perishing. And it says last year, filmmaker James Fox released a Moment of Contact documenting the alleged events which occurred in Brazil nearly 3 decades ago. The documentary's key witness is an anonymous military expert known only as Military X, who claims that they were there when one of the aliens was taken, and the video footage does exist. If that's true, no such video has surfaced. What do you guys, and I know there's a lot of ufologists in our audience, what do you guys think about this story? What do you think about the whole thing that went down? And do you think that this, as we, obviously the Congress and the U.S. government is basically teasing us that they're going to bring out some sort of real disclosure, do you think that this actually happened? And what does that mean? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, the whole story, I mean, you remember when we actually got a caller on that one time too, talking about the guy who actually had the medical records show that this, that people actually had these weird illnesses.
Yeah. There's all sorts of stories that go around this. To be honest, I had never heard of the Gina, however you pronounce it, Bargina incident, and then I had to go look it up. I was like, wow, so it's interesting that there was a similar scenario to what we had for Area 51, and of course, we've got all sorts of speculation as to what that was. But it, again, then you've got, it's interesting because then you got other people like Elon who comes out and just recently and has said it numerous times and even reposted someone else repeating his old quote saying there is absolutely no evidence of alien life. And he would know, given the position he's in with SpaceX, he's never seen any evidence of alien life, or UFOs, I guess, for that. Not UFOs, but alien life, I think is what he was saying. So, it's interesting when you see that and you wonder, well, I don't necessarily trust the guy. He may just be saying that because he's part of the cover up. But, there's a lot of curiosity around this, and it's certainly, and then again, we also have the fact that they've been bringing all this UFO stuff to the forefront in the recent, years, recent months, or even recent weeks. They're trying to bring it to the forefront, and that also makes you wonder, like, what's coming with that. A lot of people talk about disclosure. A lot of people talk about it as a giant distraction, and those are all possibilities as well.
I'll pop over, we'll pop into the chat real quick and see what's going on. Let's see here. Sorry, ladies. See her think Stephen Greer is the man to listen to, says Sun for you, Kathy Pina. Kathy, hey, nice to see you. Fire in the sky. I've had a close encounter, but memory lapse. With the disclosure from us, does it mean they still don't exist in UK? Our government haven't disclosed. Fondage, yeah, I haven't even ever thought of that. Being from the US, it's like, why isn't the UK government talking about this? It's actually something to think about. Like, why has the UK government not said anything about this? Have they? I don't believe I've ever covered anything regarding any politician, professor from over there. Why is it just the US? It kind of makes you think. Are we the laughing stock of the world or something? Let's see here. Wow, Cody, if you're right, and we don't know what's going on. Israel is being told to hide because the borders are being infiltrated. That's Matthew Heath. Yes, we briefly covered that, and we do have some images here. So by the way, if is the start of WW3, I mean, like, are any of you guys going to be surprised if this pops off sooner than later? I sure hope not, and I hope people are actually getting prepped. I hope I hope you guys all have a plan. I hope you have a plan for your family. If things go down as many of us believe they are going, it helps to have 4 different plans to meet with your family. It helps to have obviously a place that you can meet, and then a place that if you can't get to that place. So say if something happens to overpasses, or you have to actually think, and you have to go, how am I going to get there? Okay, if I'm driving there, what if I can't drive? If I'm walking there, what path would I take? Is there any chance that that path could be stopped? Will there be some sort of interference in that path? What would be my second route to that place? And then if that place doesn't work, do you have a secondary place? And then at least 2 routes to that as well, how you're going to meet family. And then say you get there and your family isn't there. Decide how long you're going to wait, okay? Decide how long you guys are going to stay there. And if not, you move to your secondary location. And if that doesn't pan out, you set a certain amount of time, then you go back to that first location. If none of those work out, then you work out what will you do if that happens. These are all things you got to work out. This will come in extremely clutch during any real disaster. If it's a natural disaster, if you're looking at like a tsunami or something, where would it depends on what your regional disaster is. Here we have tsunamis. We're going to have a tsunami with the Cascadia subduction zone. If you're on the East Coast, I guess you could have one. But if you have earthquakes, or if you have fires, or if you have something else, you need to do a regional kind of study of what's possible where you are. So I'm not surprised. Now, the person you said is covering that, again, I've watched him cover stuff, but the thing is, like, he covers a lot more detail. He basically covers every single thing that comes out over hours and hours. I could never do that. I couldn't do what he does. So more power to him. But one thing I would say is, if is really under attack, this is going down faster than you think. So people buckle up, as Jacob Israel would say. And yeah, Dex, go ahead.
Okay, so I went and grabbed a couple of vids from Twitter, and I put them in screener if you want them. But Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff going on. I'll put them on the website too. I'm in the process of doing that now. There's armed bang people in the streets, in jumping out of trucks, back of trucks. There is images of, aside from the rockets, the other one was a hang glider or paraglider trying to cross over the border during that time period. That is alleged. Now, all of the stuff you have to take is alleged, but then there's also massive amounts of fire and cars that look like they've been exploded in the streets also being reported. Those are some of the videos, and I'll make sure that everything I just said, and you'll probably find a lot more as the hours unfold. We'll put these on the website, but you can probably find more too on Twitter or X.
Okay, so this is Joe Truzman. Hold on, let me get this on here. Let me get this. Those are armed militants in the street. Unconfirmed reports of at least one paraglider attempting to infiltrate southern Israel during rocket fire from the Gaza Strip. So that again we'll have over. That's Joe Trusman. Who saw this coming? A lot of people saw this coming. You follow right versus left stuff, obviously, or you post pictures of people and make fun of them. Man. This is not good, guys. I'm gonna let you guys go over to the website. We're gonna post these, and there's more coming out by the minute. Looking at the notifications on my phone, there's a lot of stuff happening right now. This can actually create all sorts of other problems. This is also, remember, we continue to cover all of the stuff in the Middle East, and when there's the back and forth, we knew at some point this was going to pop off. Dex and I have been making sure to put in sort of the back and forth between the pallbearers going over to this country and doing this, and then them going back, the back and forth, the tit for tats. I hope this is not what I think it is, because that will trigger all sorts of other fights. This will trigger everything else. I'm hoping this is not it. I was hoping like we had at least like, I don't know, 8 more months or something. This is not good if this is what it looks like. I'm hoping that this calms down in a couple days and it's just small groups. But look at this. This looks organized. And Cody, if they're right, they just said that they're asking to hide because there's infiltrators coming into the country. I don't know though. It could be a group of 100. It could be something that's just like a big movement of passionate people that are trying to do as much damage as possible. But what do you think that does? That starts a conflict right there. If they get taken out, then it's like these are acts of conflict. I mean, this guy's driving a truck down the street. These guys are just this is nuts.
Like the military there this won't last long unless it's much bigger. And because the military there is really strong. But the downside is the military there is really strong. So this is going to get ugly real quick. And the ugliness is not necessarily for the people on the other side there. It's everybody who's caught in the middle. And that's what's unfortunate when things like this happen in urban areas.
Yeah, I don't see how this could go any other way unless they just quash this right away, unless this is huge. This is something you might wake up to and the world is different. That's the kind of thing this is. Or we wake up and hear that it got quashed and it just goes right away. So we'll see which one this is. And we'll of course update you as well later. Very, very concerning stuff going on over there. Yeah,
it goes to show, though, that citizen journalism tends to be a lot faster than the mainstream, which is just now starting to cover some of the earlier rocket stuff, but they're not at this level.
Yeah, they were us and our peers and what's his face over there? Agenda Free and a bunch of others that cover stuff in the moment. Yeah, you get that a lot faster. But you also get things. Here's the problem with covering it on the second. is something could be misrepresented. I don't think this is misrepresented, but you'll cover it as it comes out, and then over 2 hours, like, okay, take for example covering the mutiny, right? If you covered that every single minute, it would look like, oh my gosh, Russia's about to be taken out. You wait 6 hours and it's something completely different. That's why we normally try to wait, only because we've covered the moment by moment playthroughs, and it's just oftentimes it's a little bit better to wait, but it depends on your style of how you're doing it. I think what's his face does a good job of commentary. He does live commentary. All right. Wow. All right. We're gonna go over to the web only. Let's go real quick over this because we need to get. We're gonna go over to news and we're gonna cover something completely different. We're gonna break down some really crazy. I don't even want to ruin it because if I ruin it, then trust me, you're gonna be like, what the heck is going on here? And what perfect timing now. Scooby Doo Right, thank you, first of all, for hosting. 27 people brought a ton of people over here. Thank you so much. Yobi, Just Jim, thank you so much for the diamonds over on D Live. Scooby Doo, Kiki Gray, thank you. Yobi, thank you. One Aunt B over on D Live. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chance, for holding it down over there. Thank you. Texas Lawn Guy, Sheila Story, Danish Girl. Thank you. Of course, Janet Ruth Haynes, Wings and Wags Patriot, says, or Pastor, let's see here what the first one. Watch out for Steve Noon to have a video about this morning. Wings and Wags. All right, sure, will do. And then, or Pastor Paul Begley. Kim Schaefer, thank you for getting out this info out. Kim Schaefer, yes, no problem. Thank you guys for supporting Independent. Really appreciate that. Cody says, under attack, FYI, ongoing now. Desert van life. So actually, I believe before that we did cover the first part of it. Yeah, it is changing rapidly. Thank you guys so much for letting us know that live in the chat too. That's what's great about the show too, is because we can add it to the website as it goes on. And thank you guys. Thank you all for the support. It means a lot. And thank you, and thank you. Dex, let's go over the web only real quick.
Yeah, real quick. And Grace for you too over on Rumble.
Is that where you went, there. Grace? Grace for you too. Yep. Thank you. Who else?
She says, "Hey, all good to see you again." And that was the super or rant, I guess they call it over there.
Hey, Grace for you too. I just want to say hi, and I thought you were just gone. Is that where you went? You went over to Rumble? That's really cool. Well, thank you so much. And I wonder, I know there's a few others of old school Foogle fam that are over there, but pop over to YouTube and let us know you're over there. I want to say hi at least. Pop in from time to time, just so I can see it, because I can't see. They don't have an option for us to watch that the chat live. I'm gonna set up something for another screen so I can watch it. Yeah, it's not set up the same. But thank you guys. I appreciate you. All right, Dex, let's go over the web only.
Nobody wants to integrate with them, huh? Yeah, totally. Hey, real quick though, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show. You'll take you to this webpage. It's also linked below in the description. Show notes link. It takes you right here. The webpage has everything we just covered. This is a perfect example in the overflow section, that yellow bar. When you find it, you're going to, if you refresh the page, you'll see the latest tweets that we just talked about. We put those in there. We also updated a couple of links above there to the articles we talked about as we covered them live, what's going on in Israel. I'll give you the gist. There's a lot of stuff going on the political side, a lot of things that's always covered here. So if you're looking for the political perspectives and what's been going on back and forth, you can check it out. There's some interesting things going on with Gilly Bates in northern Italy and a $60 million castle. If you want to know about that, it's there. Additional stuff on Russia, UKR, it's there. All of that, including some interesting filings for trademarks for Kanye. I'm not going to say what it is, the name is, but that he's filing. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I'm sure he's got some other meaning to it, but given his track record for statements in the public. I'll leave that one where it is. That and a lot of other stuff going on. This is an entire show's worth of additional content. So we put it together for you every night. Go use it. Just click the link. It'll take you here. You can get the rest of the story. If you're looking for any of that information, it's right there. MarfoogleNews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open the show notes link down below in the description.
And the McCarthy thing, like, there's so many strange things happening right now. It's something is happening, and everybody feels it. Just some people aren't admitting that it's happening right now. Soon they will. All right, you guys, thank you so much to your mods. Dropping them in the chat, or our mods in the chat right now, because your mods doing an awesome job keeping the peace, directing people where they need to be going, as far as if they need a link or if they need to find out how do I see the information, how do I do this. The mods have been an awesome part of this. Again, make sure to thank your mods right now. Thank you, everybody, and make sure to go follow them on their own perspective channels over at marfoogle.com/friends. All right, Dex, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And very crazy
much
news.
love. Yeah, this was crazy. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, I'm going to do a shoutro. Again, it's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. We're going to make it short, though, because we're going to pop over to news. And news will be in about 5 minutes after the shoutro. We'll make the shoutro quick, but I would love to make a quick song of satisfaction for Danish Girl. Thank you, and thank you. A Danish girl, I'm on rap. I say, oh, I world. I say, oh, I say the whole wide world. I'm Danish girl. I said, I said the Danish girl. I said the Danish girl. I said the la 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 la. Oh, Danish girl. 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 Danish girl. Danish girl, Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl, Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl and the Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl, Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl and the Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl, Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl and the Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl, Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl in the whole wide world. Danish girl and the Danish girl, Danish girl in the whole wide world. Squirrel? Squirrel? No. It's just a tiny bunny.